Welcome back. It's the Plowbois podcast back at you once again. It's been a little time. We shouldn't have left you, but we back now. Episode 12. Plowing real deep tonight. All these Plowboys got their own topic for you. Real interesting. I got that K-Dog. I got that Cabiz with me. I got that DOC and B-Dot. And I'm G Meezy. And we the Plowboys. Thank y'all for tuning in, man.
Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. No more back thinking. Time for thinking ahead. The world has changed so very much from what it used to be. There's so much hatred, war and poverty. Wake up all the teachers, time to teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen to what you have to say. They're the ones who's coming up, and the world is in their hands. When you teach
the Plow right there, I'm gonna jump on in and give my topic. We don't want to spend too much time on it, man. I know my topic is broad, bro. But I want to talk about culture, our culture specifically. Us as a black race, our people, you know, do you think, your honest opinion, our culture as a whole, now, I'm just not specifically talking about our family, because I know the way we think, but I'm talking about our culture as a whole, everything that surrounds it. Do you think our culture promotes hard work, dependability, the importance of education, a strong family structure, good morals, things that you know lead to success, or at least are the groundwork for what you achieve success in your life? All of these characteristics that I talked about happen within the household. They start within yourself. You know, these things, these morals, these things that you bring out and start to exhibit in your life. All right. On the other end of that, do you think on the opposite end of that, our culture promotes a promiscuity spirit, easy access to money, get rich quick type of thing? Do you think our culture puts a importance as essential to excel in sports or entertainment more so than education and jobs in the field that education can bring? All of these things sprout up outside of the household, right? These things are brought into the environment that we live in, the maybe the music that we listen to. Where do you think that our culture is now in those two levels into the spectrum, and where do you think it's headed? B-Dot, you know I like to start with you. Where's we going with this thing?
So as I'm listening to you, it's a lot. I don't really understand your direct question, but just from an American culture, American.
I'm specifically talking about a black culture.
Okay, so from black culture.
From black culture, our culture. I'm not speaking specifically about our family and how we think. I'm talking about overall in general, the culture of black people in general right now. Where, because you know it's changed. The culture has changed. It's not where it was, let's say 30 years ago. I'm 40. When I was 10 years old, I think they had a different culture. Maybe, you know, I'm an 80s baby. You know, things started to change in the 80s and into the 90s, and where we are now, things started to change. I don't know if it's had something to do with technology, influences, different things that's going on, but from those perspectives that I put, education, morals, family structure, all things that we know are the ground rules for success. Do you think that's where our culture is headed, or do you think our culture is being influenced by promiscuity, basically a breakdown of the family, easy access to money, quick get rich quick, lack of education, putting more of an emphasis on performing well in sports and entertainment? What do you think? Where do you think our culture is headed? Just give me that perspective.
So just in general, I think it's relative to the times. My overall opinion on that is that, of course, it's different. It's always going to be different. From the time that your mama grew up in Oberlin to the time she's living now in her current city, it's different. So from a cultural, and I mean culturally for Black people in Oberlin, and culturally for Black people in the area she's living in now. So I think it's relative for all of us. When you, like you say, when you was 10 years old, it's different from what it is now. It's driven by the world. So my overall answer to that is it's a negative, because I mean, people can say what they want to. It's not me being pessimistic about the situation or the answer to the question, but I'm not very optimistic on the way the world is going anyway. So when I'm asked that question, is it a negative direction for one culture? My answer is yes, because I think it's a negative direction for all cultures. I think overall, the American culture is headed in a negative direction. And that's been going on for a long time. And whoever was at the bottom of those circumstances 30 years ago is going to still be at the bottom of the circumstances today, if that makes sense. And so if we're talking about 30 years ago, culturally, from a financial standpoint, from occupational standpoint, we were in lesser, I'm not going to say last, but we were in lesser position of the opposite culture that we're speaking of. And relatively speaking today, we're in the same position because everybody's going in a negative direction. The world, and I've said this to you guys on text always, a clear example of this was the latest situation with the pandemic. That's a horrible situation. And I think it has a lot to do with just the world view and the world direction that everything's going. So from a cultural standpoint, we're going to be affected the same way, and that's in a negative direction. That's the best I can answer that one, man. Just from a general aspect.
Hey, you gave the honest answer that your input could bring. You don't think it's going in the right direction. I'm in agreement. I ain't got nothing to disagree with what you said about our culture. That's why I brought this topic up. So I'll chime in at the end, man. I want to see what you got to say, Khabib. We ain't heard from you in a minute. Tell me what you think about our culture and those two different ends of the spectrum, man.
Man, okay, I'll put it to you like this. You already know I hate the term Black culture because the way that began to be called that way, it's really African descendants culture, okay? So you got people who came here from Asia, they call Asians. You got people who came from, India, they call Indians. And it's really only European, like a French person. If a French person moved to America, they don't call themselves white, they French. Spanish person, they Spanish. Russian person, they Russian. German person, they German. And it's really only in the United States where it's based on your color, but you're not really that color. So it's like African descended people could be anywhere from the darkest dark to the lightest light. And they all descended from Africa because it's not based on the color, it's based on the geography of where you came from. So to me, it's the premier culture of the United States. The United States is what it is today because of those people. You know what I mean? The African descendants. First of all, we was brought here as a product. And to a certain extent, we still are. Anytime entertainment, sports, comedy, music, who is the top of the charts? An African descended person. You know what I mean? It's just they live in America. You know what I mean? They live in a different place in the world, but the reason why they are who they are is because they're African descended person. So I feel like it get a bad rap because Black culture per se, which you would call Black culture, is multifaceted. It's not just a monolith where it's like it's one type of person and this is how everybody is. You got the church mothers, you got the ratchets, you know what I'm saying? You got D-boys, you got the nerds that like, watch anime, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's all of these different types of people within that because they represent an entire continent's worth of people in one country. You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like it get a bad rap because it is like it's good and bad and everything. Just like with say white people. You got like hobos, like homeless people, homeless man standing on the corner, and you got like a Wall Street banker. You know what I mean? You got women like Pamela, you got Pamela Anderson, Britney Spears, Paris Hilton. Then you got Kourtney Kardashian, whatever. So it's like it's different aspects of it, but I feel like the United States would not be what it is today without, the culture of African descended people, with this jazz, rap, sports, basketball, football, baseball. Anytime, like they just had a big thing for Willie Mays, you know what I mean? Because of his contribution, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Oprah. These, and then to go even further back, when you say like Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, these people who have had to overcome Gramps, Big Doc, you know what I mean? It wasn't that long ago when people couldn't even eat in the same restaurant. And it's like the hurdles that they overcame. Obama, you know what I mean? And that's one thing about it. And it's like, you kind of got to take credit for, not necessarily credit, but you got to own up to your achievements. You know what I mean? Whatever you've done negatively, because that is a big thing in the Black community of, hip hop, killing gangster rap, selling dope, this and that. But at the same time, you got Pfizer, you got Tylenol, you know what I mean? You got all of these drug companies who are making pills and doing the same thing, but on a grander scale, but nobody look at them like they D-boys. You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like as far as cultures are concerned, it's a culture that don't get the credit for the good that it does, bad that it does. It get way over, way over prosecuted for with this, jail, prison, just people like culture in general. People like, oh, that's ghetto. But then you get white girls that want braids, white boys want dreadlocks and gold teeth. You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like it is the premier culture it is American culture. Everything that they say about America, patriotism, the Olympics, everything that you would say is basically American apple pie. Who you think will make the best apple pie? You know what I mean? Everything that they feel is American, the greatness. Like if Trump say make America great again, let Jesse Owens run in the Olympics. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like it is. It's a great culture. I think it needs to live up to its greatness, like what Jesus said. You the city on the hill. Let your light shine and stop doing bad. Like was that Paul? The evil that I wouldn't do is what I do, and the good that I would do is what I don't do. So just like B-Dot said, come, and I do like, okay, that's another thing, the church. It's kind of two sides of it. You got church people and then, sinner. If my people that's called by my name humble themselves and pray, seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, then I hear the land and forgive their sins. And it's like, there's no two ways about it. We was took from Africa. It's just
can't
what
change
it is.
that.
We're not there no more. But it's like being a kid. It's like being a teenager.
Can't change the past.
Right. You're an adult now. You were
right
teenager, but it was time before that. They got all type of tombs in Egypt and all of it. It's history over there. But don't nobody investigate it. You know what I'm saying? Don't nobody want to think about, okay, well, this is where we came from. It's not where we at. This is where we came from. Look at the greatness and the things they did over. Jesus was raised in Egypt.
That's
you know what I mean? They don't.
And that goes back to another thing about our culture, man. We talk about Black culture, and I'm glad you brought that up, because when you think about Black culture, it goes back to slavery, and then it stops there. Like that's that's it. It's got way more to the Black culture than slavery. It goes way beyond that. And like you put, man, we're gonna go to you, Doc, in a second. But I like you put eloquently, it's our responsibility now. Just like when we was a teenager, we thought a certain way. Now as adults, we have to think We raised up, now we have to think up. We know better, now we got to do better. The situation at hand is the culture that we're dealing with now. Okay, we know the way it was in the past. We really can't change that. We need to be informed about where we came from, and we need to know where we came from, or we never know where we're going. But do you think it's going in the right direction, Doc? Do you think our culture is being uplifted in a direction that will bring the next generation to where they supposed to be? Are they being reared in a sense? Education, morals, strong family structure is the way for success, or are they being reared get rich quick? Promiscuity is where it's at. Importance in maybe entertainment or sports more than education. What do you think our culture is?
Are you talking about the hip hop culture or the American culture in general? Because I'm getting a lot of answers from B-Dot, and
I'm strictly talking about black culture.
Black
our culture.
Yeah,
our culture. Period.
Yeah.
Now I know Kabi's put it like he don't like to be generalized in a black culture, but I'm identifying with what other people identify me as.
Right.
So, I mean, we live in America. If I walk in a room and they hear me speak, they see my hair, I'm black. That's that. Light skin, whatever, I'm black. And that represents something. That's a part of your culture. How you talk. You ever heard of someone say you're not talking black? You ever heard that saying? Yeah, sure we have. That's part of our culture. The way we talk, the way we express ourselves, the way we dress, all of that is part of our culture. And there is different spectrums in our culture. There's a hip hop culture. There's like Kabi said, there's a entertainment and celeb culture. But what we identified as, do you think it's going in the right direction?
No, it's going.
Hey, hold on, I just want to say one thing, bro. The way, my bad, big Doc. The way you talk, like that's one thing, it always irked me. The way you talk, you can't talk black, you can't talk white. You're speaking English. You know what I'm saying? That's not black culture. That's why I say the Olympics, athletics, entertainment, jazz. Playing that trumpet like that is black culture. They play that like that because they descended from Africa. A dude from Japan, a dude from Russia, and a dude from Africa, an African descended person can all play the same trumpet. They can all, you know what I'm saying? When you're talking, everybody is speaking English. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't adhere to, okay, this is black culture. I say African descended people, and like you say, it's a spectrum. You know what I mean?
And I totally understand what you're saying. I'm not trying to argue the point of what you identify as. I'm specifically talking about what people identify you as. That's all. And that really may not matter to you. All I'm trying to get to is where it's headed in the future. You spoke on that. And I want to hear what Doc got to say about it. I mean, what we identify ourselves as, like I could walk in a room and I could say I'm Indian. And that's fine. I'm Indian. But at the end of the day, what I identify as and who my culture is part of is black. I know I got Indian in me. My grandfather's parents were Indian. But what I identify as is black. And white people identify and I'm a part of that culture because I represent that.
But this is what I'm saying. Columbus called the people there Indians because he thought he was an Indian. He was wrong. Willie Lynch called African people black because he thought all Africans was black, and they not. This is what I'm telling you. Our culture is descended from Africa. You got descendants from Asia. You got descendants from Europe. You got descendants from Africa. You know what I'm saying? The culture that we embody when they say black culture, that's African culture, bro. All of the stuff that Africa's still there. You know what I'm saying? All of the stuff that people do, you know what I mean? It's an entirely new culture created.
But
y'all
my bad, big Doc. I'm taking my baby.
Go ahead, big Doc.
I think the point that where we at now, we are here in America. You in Texas, we in Louisiana. I think we broadbanding this thing to be more than what the question is. The hip hop culture, as Gary, I think Gary trying to say, it's definitely going in the wrong direction. We got this thing called Megan Thee Stallion hottie sauce, and you know, at Popeyes, bro.
Someone stole your hottie sauce. All of it.
Not my hottie sauce.
Hands on my knees shaking, knees on my thigh shot. Hands on my knees shaking, knees on my thigh shot.
Wrap up my should have known it was you.
Hands on my knees shaking, knees on my thigh shot.
The hottie sauce is here.
Hands on my knees shaking, knees on my thigh shot. Hands on my knees shaking, knees on my thigh shot. Hands on my knees, hands on my knees.
That's that hip hop culture. We got, like I brought up the question about incarceration. They glamorize in prison. You know, a guy can get out of prison, man, and get more love than somebody that graduated out of Harvard University. Shakira Richardson, you know, was smoking weed and got blowed out by the Jamaican, but everybody knows she was getting all this kind of love. But the little girl in second place, I think she got a MA, she got a college degree and at Harvard, and nobody showed her no love. I think that's what Gary was talking about. Our culture, and I think it's doing that for a reason. It ain't us. It's the music industry. It's the powers. It's the dark forces behind the music industry that's doing all that. That's killing our culture. It ain't us. You know, we pretty much, some of these guys, you know, they don't have a choice. This is what they listen to all day. So, you know, they're gonna do that. Like more blacks, all they want to do is rap and play sport. Like everybody can't go to the NFL, bro. I wish that more of our youth would go get a trade, you know, like diesel mechanic, you know, auto mechanic. Man, it's begging. I can't find enough people to work on my truck. Nobody, you know, all these shops, you got one mechanic. You got to wait till next week before you can get somebody to look at your truck. And you go in there and it's all white mechanic. Where are the blacks at? Rarely do you see a black guy sliding under your truck to fix something. But you can pick up a newspaper and you see 5 or 6 of them getting locked up for shooting somebody because that's something they heard on the radio. You know, and I think that's what the question what Gary was asking about our culture. It's definitely going in the wrong direction to me. That's what I see. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you for chiming in, Big Doc. That's basically what I'm getting at is where we at now, where we at today. We can talk about our past, which is a great thing to do, but the question is where we at now, and where do you think we're gonna be evolved to in the future with where the culture is now? What we identify with necessarily is not the question. That's not the question. The question is the black culture in general right now. So if you don't identify with it, you really don't even need to comment on it. It's basically how you see the culture right now, the black culture and its future going forward. We know we've dealt with civil rights. We're gonna go back. We know we've dealt with slavery. We want to go back. We know we've dealt with the Egyptian kings and queens in a time. We talking about right now in general. Yeah. And I brought this up initially. This is a broad topic that can be taken in many different avenues.
We can't be worried about what happened in Egypt. We got to be worried about what's happening today and tomorrow.
What's going on the streets of Chicago, and we need to talk about. We need to be focused on how we can evolve into the future. You know, and knowing our past has a part in it, but we definitely need to accept what's going on, understand where it's gonna be going if it continues. So where do you think, K-Dog, our culture is at today? Is it promoting the righteous things that will lead to success, or is it leading us to an area in our lives, our culture, for its degradation, for its downfall? Your thoughts?
I think the black culture today has improved from what it used to be. I do think that we are, as a people, headed in the right direction. I can't say one way or the other if we'll get there in our time zone, you know, in our lifetime. I think the black culture today has evolved so much to where, I mean, you really you do have some racial issues still, where it's looked at as the black culture being beneath another culture. But I think that there's so many, and you may look at it as a black culture, but it's so many biracial families out there nowadays that I kind of think we're not gonna have a such thing as a black culture 40 years from now, 50 years from now. I think it's gonna just be just a human culture, or just so much to where it'll be just I don't think that they're gonna be using race as a broad spectrum 50 years from now. At least I hope not, because I mean I have biracial kids, you know, and one day they'll have biracial kids. So I don't think that we're gonna have to. It'll be just an all-out black culture thing 50 years from now. At least I pray not to. You know, I mean we're all created equal. You know, despite our color, despite our culture, despite what we believe in or what we don't believe in. You know, God sees us all to be the same, and if we can start looking at each other in the same eyes that God looks at us, then I don't think we're gonna have to have in the future any type of culture, anything. Well, anybody who's doing a podcast 50 years from now, well, they'll be saying black culture or white culture or Indian or, you know, whatever it may be. I see us hopefully all evolving to one, just one being one being under one creator.
Man, I love your outlook, man. I love that passion that you have for the positive outcome of our culture, man, of culture in general. My short chime in on it. Simple. This is my reason for asking this. We have an identification with something. I've put it on applications before. I put it on census. I think it's on my driver's license. I'm black. Okay? That's what it is. That's what I identify as. That is what others see me as. Okay? That is you talked about biracial, okay? Your children will be looked at as black. That's just what it is. Their father's black. 2% of their blood is black. They're black. That's the way it goes. So correct. I mean, we talking about culture, all right, and we talking about where it is today and where we're hoping for it to go in the future. Now, I talked about morals, and I talked about in general where I see it as today. The promiscuity issue of promoting a lack of family structure. That's what I mean by that. I mean, you can talk about what you want to talk about in your music. I got no problem with nobody getting a bag for making lyrics rhyme. That's your art form. But the influence that I think is having on some of the youth today is leading our culture into a place that it's in a downward spiral, because we are glorifying the wrong things in life. I could think back before the types of music that we have today. And Kabish, you brought up sports star, something that we had to look up to. You talked about Jackie Robinson, Willie Mays, and the track star Jesse Owens. We wasn't bumping some of the things we bumping right now, influencing us in a way when we was influenced by them. Or we talked about influence earlier tonight in the podcast. We was looking at what their accomplishments was and how hard they had to work to get to where they had to be. There was more of an influence. There wasn't a rap game. So there was more of an influence on getting your education so you could benefit your life in a way that it would prosper you in the environment that we live in. It does not matter necessarily, in a sense, in the business world, in the job market, how you see yourself. It's how others see you. And in our culture, as Doc brought out, we are glorifying things that have led our culture, I believe, to go in a direction that we're not being seen well. We're not being seen in the light that identifies us as kings and queens that we were created to be. I think we identifying as lesser man, as something that is less than a conqueror, is less than a victor. Yet we glorifying the wrong things, putting the things on a pedestal that we should not. Now, I asked in the beginning of this question simply where you think it's going in the future. And Kay, I love you gave me a sense of perspective when you said, man, I hope it goes. I see it going in the right, and we got to see it going in the right direction. But what are we going to do? What are we going to do to see it going in that right direction? Let's say we continue a strong family structure, creating a sense of moral, to have education as a priority, as Doc put, a trade as a priority, other than everybody becoming a ball player, everybody becoming a rapper. I'm gonna say this little piece and I'm gonna leave it at this. In the hood, where our culture resides, in every avenue or every neighborhood of America, if there was a young black man walking down the street playing a violin on his way to the bus stop, he would be mocked, criticized, and ridiculed. I guarantee it. If there was a young black man walking to school with a boom box, blamming some loud music, with 2 earrings in his ear and gold chains, the freshest Jordans on, he would be praised. He would be put on a pedestal. That took no talent, that took no effort other than to put on something, yet he would be praised. Whereas the one who practiced, who developed a talent that could take him somewhere in life, would be mocked and ridiculed. That is what I mean by our culture, and how we see ourselves, how we treat ourselves, and how we are gonna become in the future if we don't change. That is simply the way I put it, man. How we see ourselves and how we gonna change.
Plowboy, you ain't no city boy. Yeah, you were born with dirty hands. Yeah, you a plowboy, and you're thinking silly boy. Just trying to make you understand. Yeah, you a plowboy, and you're thinking silly boy. Just trying to make you understand. Oh, yeah.
Thanks for watching the Plowboy podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell us what you think about the black culture.